all the evidence in?
There's not a lot of patience here right now, Sean. That man has moved back into the crowd.
Okay.
As this police line has moved forward, threatening arrest and threatening more tear gas, a lot of people have run backwards. So the police now have moved forward about 600 yards over the course of an hour as they slowly try to regain control here.
Steve, let me ask you this. You know, a lot of these incidents, we've seen that professional agitators, people bust in from outside communities who know nothing about the community. Have you gotten any indication, in fact, that's happened? And do you know what's happened? It looks like there's a reporter that's down in the white shirt there.
Whoa.
Are people... What happened, Steve-O?
So what we're seeing now are what looks like paintball shots being fired, exploding on the ground to try and drive some protesters back, and bottles being hurled at the police. So a real back and forth here. The police in this line have shown tremendous patience. They've been pelted with bottles, they've had fireworks shot at them, and they're just basically holding their ground.
What was
that was a
bang we just
flashbang
heard?
Explosion. We've seen some... That was a flashbang explosion and some fireworks to try and drive people back.
Okay, and who started that fire in the middle of the street?
To all of this, and it's having less and less effect as time goes on.
And do you know who started the fire that's in the street?
Your question about the makeup of this crowd is interesting because it's kind of sad how this thing has evolved over the last couple hours, because early on, when it was still light out, you saw a lot of parents with children.
There's tear gas.
I don't know what that was, but it came from
a flashbang dummy
of the protesters. Now those are designed to intimidate and designed to frighten, and they're very effective. They're flashbang grenades, and they make people scream. And
we just saw one go off right now.
That's what's happened.
Are you
okay? That's more tear gas as well. There's a slight breeze out, which has made the tear gas a little less effective than it ordinarily would be.
Right, Steve, stay right there. If I can, I want to go back to former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who's on the phone with us. Is he gone? Is Ben Carson there?
I'm here, Sean.
Okay. Fox News senior correspondent Geraldo Rivera is with us. He's been in many of these situations himself. Darryl Parks, who represented the Trayvon Martin family, is with us as well. Geraldo, you've been in many of these situations. You see what's going on. Looks like the police now are trying to take the remaining protesters, although looks like a bottle was just hurled at them, and they're using the flashbang and some tear gas to push the crowd back. You've been there many times yourself. It seems to me like they're showing a lot of restraint. That's my opinion.
The cops are doing a great job in Charlotte, but you're in the fourth hour now, Sean, of the second day of the rioting there in Charlotte. By this time, the people who are on the street are the pros. The vast majority of them, I would think, would be the people who are professional agitators, people who really have, the ability to flock to these combat zones and to add their 2 cents. That happened in Ferguson. That happens time and time again. Happened in Baltimore. But the bigger picture, and listening to Mayor Giuliani and you speaking, Sean, and hearing Donald Trump's suggestion of a national stop and frisk, I think that we have to recognize that too many black men are being killed in questionable circumstances in confrontations with cops. There's a lot of other things going on. Obviously, the big question of black-on-black violence and the need for more cops in places like Chicago and so forth. We get the big picture that there are really, the fact that the African-American inner-city community has fared so poorly in the last 8-10 years. I mean, that's real, but we have to concede. But we hear it every 2 days now, Sean. We have to concede that too many unarmed black men. If this guy was,
but Geraldo, let me stop you and let me gently disagree with you. I mean, look, as I've been pointing out, and as Newt Gingrich pointed out, as Rudy Giuliani pointed out here tonight, there's been 3,000 people shot in Chicago this year. There's been 3,660 murders in the city of Chicago since Obama's been president. Geraldo, I defy you to name one of those people that are dead. And I bet you can't. And here's a problem, is you've got a president of the United States that rushes to judgment, high-profile cases, and he ends up being wrong, creating an expectation within the community of a certain outcome and result, and then people feel betrayed and disappointed because their leaders told them something by rushing to judgment before facts are presented.
Sean, the story is so clear from your perspective. You see it, you analyze it, you know exactly what the problem is, and yet you have conceded, and I've heard you speaking with Steve Harrigan earlier, that there are two different realities, at least two different realities. The people
that's
who
my
are
point.
Protesting
but
earlier
Geraldo, that's
today,
my point. Why don't we wait for the
families.
facts?
Oh, yes.
Why don't we wait for the facts? Why are we always rushing to judgment?
You have an emotional volcano going on here. You have.
But that sounds like you're justifying this.
I'm not justifying. I'm explaining that we are at least two different Americas. We are. We have to face
Geraldo,
that.
wait a minute.
The people who were drawn to the peaceful protests earlier this evening, and Steve Harrigan mentioned the families with the strollers and so forth. Those people were good people, law-abiding people, but they were moved because this man apparently, I don't know if it's true or not, Keith Scott, and you're right. Either there was a gun or there is a book, and we should know. And I don't know why they're not releasing the video of the encounter. They should do as much as they can to give people the facts, so the facts will replace all of these suppositions. But right now, you have people making presumptions. The angry African American crowd said it's the cops who are out of control, and the
but
rest
Geraldo,
of us
stop for a
what
second.
is this?
All right, this is the problem, because everybody rushed to judgment in Baltimore. People's entire lives were ruined.